So I hope everybody's buckled in because we're about to take an exciting ride. Our presenter today is Henrietta J. Woodward. Henrietta, DTM, has been a member of Toastmasters for 25 years. She's the president of Daybreak Toastmasters in Charleston, South Carolina. Henrietta is the executive director of Community First Land Trust, a nonprofit organization that promotes and develops permanently affordable housing. She's a widower, a mother of 3, and a grandmother of 5. She loves to travel, read, and spend time with family. Presenting the role of president, please welcome to the virtual lectern distinguished Toastmaster, Henrietta Woodward. Henrietta.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm going to chime in with what Sean just said. If you need the bathroom, it is down the hall, and please don't pee yourself up like Ledford did. As president of a Toastmasters club, you have the power in the palm of your hands to make changes. And I guess you say, me alone? No, you work as a team. But there are some famous people, one person that made changes. Mother Teresa made a huge change in our society. Martin Luther King made a huge difference in our society. So you have a challenge today to make any changes that will benefit your club. You as the president makes the tone of your club, and you are expected to provide helpful, supportive leadership for all the club's activity. That's right, all of the club's activity. And you're the first to assume those responsibilities for the progress and the welfare of the club's activity. You motivate, you're responsible to resolve conflict and to facilitate your organization. My biggest block when I became president is, how do I handle difficult decisions? My club, which is Daybreak, we have 6 DTMs, and they're all, with the exception of me, of course, are type A personalities. And they all have an opinion that sometimes the referee has to come in and say, okay, go back to your corners and let's come back out again. That is your responsibility, to make a clean meeting for everyone that is there. Now, every year I pick a word for the year. Last year, 2021, my word was synergy. What is synergy? Synergy is the combined value and performance that will be greater than the sum of their separate effects. It means that you don't have the overall and the right answer. It has to be a team's answer. Now, if you have read the Toastmasters magazine for January, they listed out the word team. T was for training and resources, and that's why you're here today. The E is to lead by example. One of my examples is to be on time at our meetings. A is to ask questions as presidents. And you have a whole source of resources. You have your area governor, you have your division, and you have the district and international. And the M is meeting up with those that are in your organization, meeting up with other organizations. What is the president's role, the president's responsibilities, and the president resources? Number one, the president is responsible for club meetings, outside the club meetings, and the executive committee. Before the club meetings, normally in Daybreak, I'm going to give you a lot of examples on how our club runs. We get a 4-week agenda. And on a Sunday night prior to our meeting, which is 7 o'clock on Tuesday mornings, that agenda is sent out to every club member. It gives them the opportunity to review it, to see whether or not someone can still take their tasks at hand. If not, changes are made. On the day of the meeting, the Toastmaster of the day and the president reviews that agenda once again to ensure that everyone is in their perspective place. Now, by a show of hands, how many people in this group are first-time presidents? Now, you have served in that position since January 1. Can you tell me what questions that you may have that you're still unsure of in that role?
My question is, this is Donna Newton. I'm currently not the president, but I'm here to learn what the president's roles and responsibilities are. So, in considering what I'll be doing if I decide to run for president in our club.
That is a great thought, because I think one of the things that Toastmasters, and at least in our club, a lot of times we think of succession. Who is going to come after me as president? Am I now spending that time and preparing that person to do that? So today you will see or learn about what a president's responsibilities are and how they get to that point. Before the meetings, I usually ask my VPE about any special recognitions or member inductions. As president, you will normally get that information also through Toastmasters International. And so we love recognizing folks. And it's very important that you do that and cut out a portion of your meetings to make that happen. What we have done also is that we've created a time that we recognize people for things that they have done is not really a part of Toastmasters. For instance, if we have someone that has been to our meetings for at least 6 weeks in a row, someone that has went beyond what they have been asked to do to make our meetings run smoothly. Since the pandemic, we have lost some memberships. And prior to the pandemic, we had a club of about 22 members. Now we're working with 11. But our meetings are just as productive as when we were working with 21 members. We have some members that will take 2 positions during our meetings. And so we may recognize someone that does something like that. Upon arriving at our club meetings. The reason why I joined Toastmasters at my first visit was one of this, my first meeting. I walked in the door. There was a Toastmaster standing at the entrance door that welcomed me. I had to walk down a long aisle to get to the meeting room. When I got to the meeting room, there was someone there to welcome me and to assist me in finding a seat. That told me that this club was going to embrace what I needed and to give me what I needed as a Toastmaster. The way they treated their guests, not only the way they treated their guests, but when members came in, it was the same thing. Let me ask you this. You don't have to answer, just think about it. When your members come into your meetings, do you treat them like they're guests? If not, I would suggest that you would show the same enthusiasm that you would show a first-time visitor to your members. Because they're the ones that's going to make your club successful. They're the ones that when you call on someone to do a task, that they're going to get it done for you. Now, I have a wingman in my club, and he's my vice president of education. I lead and he pushes. So as president, you need to engage with your officers. You need to become one. And actually, I love cross-learning. I'm the president, but I know the duties of each of my officers. I know what the VP does. If we have someone to come in and our vice president of membership isn't there, I know how to fill out that application. So as the president, you need to be well-rounded. Going into your meeting, you should have agendas there. Well, we do have agendas for every member that come in so that they too can see what the schedule is for the day. Make notes on that agenda. I usually put my word of the day on it, who won, who didn't win, the titles of the table topics. Just utilize that so you can go back to it again. Continue to create your own recognition of the people that work with you. Who calls the meeting to order? My sergeant of arms. Do everyone's sergeant of arms call the meeting to order? Because according to this, it says that the president calls the meeting to order. But the sergeant of arms calls the meeting to order. Then he introduces me as the president, and I recognize any guests that we may have. I explain to the guests the meeting events, and if there is any business, we will conduct that business at that time. Even after our meeting, we ask our guests to give us comments on how they felt the meeting ran. Would they be interested in coming back and being a member? Don't ever let a guest leave without inviting them to become a part of your club. Because if you have presented to them a meeting that is well ran, has quality speeches. When I mean quality speeches, speeches from a manual, There's 2 or 3 people in my club will never get a manual speech. Pathways. Everybody is afraid of pathways, but you're going to have to be, this is a time when conflict resolution may come in. You're going to have to be a little stern about members bringing speeches from pathway. We have several people in our club that will individually call a member, take that member aside, maybe out for coffee, and go through pathways so that the club will benefit because they're going to get credit for pathway speeches. And then the member himself will also benefit. Of course, you make any announcements that you may have for the club, and then your meeting's adjourned. The one thing that I also do at our meetings is that before leaving the meeting, we then make sure that we tell every member what their task is for the next week. And that has been very helpful because even though we have a 4-week schedule, someone may say, oh, I'm sorry, I won't be there on next week. And right then we're able to make a replacement if possible. But we also have like a line item on our agenda that says hot seat. And that person who is in the hot seat will take up any task that needs to be done for the next week. You're responsible to attend and vote at council meetings, attend and vote at annual meetings, appoint audit committees. Make sure when you're appointing an audit committee that you get someone from another club that is objective, that can sit and make sure that you have a clean audit. The president is responsible for appointing a nominating committee. Some of you may want to be president. Some of you may have been pushed, or some of you may have been like I was, voluntold. You will receive official correspondence from rural headquarters. Please read those documents. It has a wealth of information for you. You're responsible to schedule and chair all of your executive committee meetings. And when you're there, be creative. Don't say, this is the way it was always been done, and this is the way I'm going to do it. What we have done at Daybreak, for instance, an example, we took our club, Successful Club program, and had a roundtable discussion with our club. That we gathered information from the club members with their ideas, what they wanted to do, what they'd like to see where the club would go. And then I appointed 3 individuals to facilitate that session. Our secretary wrote all of the notes, the minutes, the answers, and now our club will, the executive committee will come together and we will fill out all the information that is necessary in that Success Club plan. Invigorate your club. Help them to move on to where they want to be. Push them to change. There is an article in this month's magazine. It's called The Leader Team. It's on page 11. Also, there's an article. It's called The Leader Ladder, and it talks about your club executive committee. Don't overlook information that comes from headquarters. That is how you're going to help to develop and improve your club leadership. And surely when you're having your club executive committee meetings, invite the memberships to come. Another thing that we do in our club to encourage creativity, to encourage leadership, to encourage improvement, we may occasionally, as a group, go to a restaurant and just have a nice social time together. We had a Christmas party this past December, and we went to a restaurant and we invited our family members were there, and we exchanged the white elephant gifts. It was just wonderful to see a member out of the club, out of their normal environment. So don't be afraid to cross that creativity line. I wanted to get to this. Make sure your club create a club budget. Make sure you complete the club success plan. And surely you want to strategize on how you're going to accomplish your distinguished club program. I was a president about 10 years ago in my club, and for 2 years, in all 2 years, we were president-elect. That's 10 years ago. I don't know what's going to happen, but our goal is to become president-elect. Create and oversee other club committees. You're going to need a chairman for your speech contest, an entertainment committee. We just like to get together, so do whatever you need to do to increase your club participation. I hate missing a meeting, because our theme is after every meeting we ask, did you learn something? And did you have fun? And every meeting, I think everyone can say that they have done that. How will you fulfill this responsibility? I encourage you to write down ideas and incorporate your ideas with Toastmaster guidelines. Put a date and time on actions that need to be completed. And think about who is available to help you get this done. You have your executive team, you have your district leaders, you have your membership. Even though your memberships aren't an executive committee member, utilize them. And what material, the sources of information that you need, it is huge. Toastmasters website. And don't be afraid to contact another club and ask for information or resources that you might need. My daughter lives in Maryland, and she just joined a new club. It's a new club, all women, about 7 or 8 of them. And I sat in on one of their meetings, and they had no information. Someone in my club gathered up a packet and sent them a copy of every document that they would need to successfully run a meeting. Timer sheets, speakers introduction sheets. So don't be afraid to cross that line and call another president or a member of another club to get information that you may need. And the other thing is, don't be afraid to visit another club to see how their club is running, and how does it parallel to what you're doing, and how you can improve your club, and how you can make suggestions to them. Always provide positive leadership to all officers and members. Build a cohesive team. Oversee and facilitate your club meetings. This is a summary. Lead by example and treat all members fair and equally. Hold yourself and other officers accountable. Be diplomatic in resolving conflict. Encourage participation in distinguished club program. And remain current with the leader letters that you receive. Be familiar with all aspects of the addendum of the standard club options and club constitution. We have a member in our club that knows every rule in Toastmasters, and he let us know about it all the time. Sometimes it could be irritating, but I'll tell you what, if you go back and check him, he is always correct. You don't have to agree with everybody all the time, but I'll tell you, if you listen carefully, there's always something that you can learn. Now, you are a Toastmaster, and you're serving as a president, and you're giving. But you're going to develop some skills too. Some of those skills are team building and delegation, positive small group leadership that you can use in your job, organization and problem solving. That was one that was very helpful for me because I hated conflict and I needed a way of dealing with it. When I came into Toastmasters, I came in there thinking that I want to improve my speech. But what I found out, it was more to it than that. My listening skills became clearer and keener. When I listened to evaluations that others made in the club, I thought, well, how did I miss that? I didn't hear that. I didn't see that. But through my improvement in my listening skills, my evaluations have greatly improved. Critical thinking. I've been able to use that not just in Toastmasters, but in the many groups that I work with in my community, with my children and grandchildren, and with my friends. Critical thinking is key. Network and relationship building, conflict management. Succession planning is very important so that when you're leaving an office, you have already have someone in mind, or you've already mentored someone to take your place. Getting started. I know this sounds like this should have been in the beginning. Attend your district-sponsored club officer training program. That's why you're here. You're at TLI. Reading material. There's a book that I found, and it's called, I didn't find it, it's on the website, Toastmasters website. It's the Toastmasters Club Leadership Handbook. And they have a portion, and it's on page 18 through 21, that is entitled Club Timeline. And for everything that you need in terms of, let's they say, for instance, a club building program, it is on those 2 pages. If you haven't done so yet, especially for those individuals that just became president, meet with your outgoing executive committee. It's not too late. Meet with the outgoing president. It's not too late if you haven't done it. Because I have been to clubs when, I'll tell you, when I got this position as president, I didn't meet with my past president. And then make sure you meet with your current executive committees often. Remember, you have the power to influence and to change. I want to tell you a little story, and I titled it, You're Gonna Fly. I was planning on a trip to take my granddaughter to visit my daughter for Thanksgiving. And so Noelle, she's almost 3. I keep her every Wednesday. And so I would sit her on my lap every Wednesday and say, Noelle, are you going to fly with Granny? And we would hold up our hands and say, we're going to fly. Well, when her parents made their flight arrangements, my flight arrangement was different. My son said that when Noelle got on the plane and the plane was backing out, she stood up and said, hey, everybody, we're going to fly. I will almost bet that at least 90% of those people that were on that flight, the atmosphere changed for them. So you are going to fly as president of your club because you have the power to influence and to change. I would suggest that you go and look at the president resources. There is lots of resources that you can look at. Read, ask questions, meet with others, and I will bet you too will be in the running as a distinguished club at the end of your. Are there any questions?
This is Mary Lee. I am the president of the Sumter Area Toastmasters Club. I do not have any questions, but I can honestly say that this has really helped me out. I've only been the president now for 6 months, but I have learned a whole lot on today with your presentation, and I do appreciate it. I got into the position as well as you did. Listen to what you said. Voluntold to be in it because I felt as though I will do a good job. I do appreciate everything that you brought forward on this morning. It's very, very helpful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Mary. And I would also say that anytime that you need to have any questions answered, or you need to have, or just want to talk about where you are, and maybe we can share information for any of the presidents, let's do that. I mean, the synergy is that all of us together will come up with the best solution. Are there any more comments or questions? But let me say, I didn't want to go through a slide and you got this and we have this, but I wanted to give you my experience, because you can always go back and read, and it's boring anyway, a lot of time. But I wanted to show you and let you know that you as a president, you have a lot of leverage to make your club what you want it to be.
Hey, Henrietta Musunga here. I'm the club president. I'm in my 2nd year. It's a corporate club. It's more of a comment, and also just wondering about people's thoughts. I know we touched on it during your presentation about having to assume multiple roles, and we kind of went through that over the last 2 years as well. I fell into the position, was voluntold after several changes. And then I did assume 2 roles. And one of the takeaways and coming into this year, one of the things I expressed to the rest of the officers when we started the year was I felt that for a club president to assume 2 roles, at least in my experience, was definitely a little bit more challenging than maybe for some of the other officer roles, not to diminish any officer roles. So I'm just kind of curious with how others felt about, club president having to, I mean, obviously, if you have to do it, you have to do it. But if it's, just kind of your people's experience on how they managed, if anybody has done being a club president and also a secondary officer role.
Well, in my club, our sergeant of arms was also at one point our VP of membership, which, I think that was easily he could easily move that around versus as president. I would not ever suggest that a president also take a role, say, as a VPE or as a vice president of public relation. No, I think the president's role should remain. You know, some clubs, they combined roles, but I would not do that. I mean, if possible, I would try to find someone that would take the role of another role. For instance, the secretary and the treasurer can be a combined. You can combine those two as officers.
We did that this year, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But I understand what you're saying. So we are facing the same thing. And again, like you, we are a corporate club. So, and let's be clear, Toastmasters direction of the part of this area is not necessarily understanding the difficulties that we need to abide to the laws of our company. So I understand your pain. We are accumulate position also and try to manage all rules.
If I could make a suggestion too, is that when you have to do that, then that tells me we need to be recruiting. We need to increase our membership. So how do you do that? Especially if you're in a corporate setting. Talk with your employees, your coworkers. Maybe your employer will allow you to send out a special flyers to the employees and to encourage. The other thing about corporate clubs is that when you're in Toastmasters, and after, at least I'm going back now, I'm 25 years in. Initially, when I found out that if I completed my first 10 speeches, that they're going to send a letter to my employer to congratulate me on that's being successful. I'll tell you what happened. My boss sent me, in that 6 months time after he got that letter, I went to San Francisco, Washington, D.C., San Antonio, and I think the other place was in Charlotte, to be on a panel. Prior to my coming to Toastmasters, I wasn't going anywhere. But I think employers, a lot of members that I have known over the 25 years, because of their membership in Toastmasters and their boss being notified of their success, have gone on to sometimes move on to new jobs, sometimes got raises. And so it's worth the while that you try to get, especially in corporate offices, talk with your supervisors, talk with whoever is the head of the organizations, and tell them the benefit of their employees coming to become a member of Toastmasters.
Hey, Henrietta, I just wanted to mention real quick that we were successful at a large corporate club I was with selling Toastmasters membership to managers and getting them to pay for Toastmasters membership under training. Because if you meet twice a month, that's 24 hours or 3 days of training. I can't recall the amount, but like $150. You can't get 3 days of training anywhere for $150. So that was a thing that we did, is we had a 1-pager letter that we wrote up on. Well, actually, we got one from the Toastmasters site, and then I had a letter on the benefits of Toastmasters. So when we were able to get the managers to pay for it, we were able to get more club members.
Are there any more questions?
I do. I would just like some comments from people as to your decision about virtual versus, looks like we're leaving the breakout room, but I did want that conversation, but it looks like we don't have enough time to discuss virtual versus in live meetings.
Recording in progress.
Beverly, I will give them the feedback from my club. We passed by a full in present, a full online, and now we are in hybrid mode. We have the support of the company to do it. We have the tools to do it, but we still, not because of lack of support, but because of lack of interest. Even the company is having a hard time to have people on site, and people see more benefit of presential meetings.
Well, we have just gone to an alternate. We'll do 1 week as a Zoom and 1 week as a live. And that way everybody's itch gets scratched and you're not forced to do one way or the other. So we had our first live meeting last week. And I understand I had illness in my family, so I could not attend, but I understand that it was good. And then this week we will do virtual, go back to Zoom, and we'll probably try that for a while. And I just wanted to know what everybody else was doing and how they were.
Well, my club, we were meeting in person. We tried the hybrid, but it didn't work in the virtual. It just did not work.
No one wanted to do hybrid. So
right.
We do that.
So we're meeting in a church hall, and they insisted that everyone wear masks. So we've lost a lot of our members, well, let's say 3, because they did not want to wear a mask. So now the way it is set up, the church said that if everyone voted and said that they did not want to wear a mask, then no mask is needed. But if one person said yes, then everybody has to wear a mask. It has to be unanimous. And so we like there, you can tell, I mean, it's almost like, you know who was voting for a yes for a mask, because if they're not there, everybody's voting for no mask. And we have to do that at every meeting.
Henrietta, I'm grateful for the encouragement here. That was a lot of information about being a president. When you were a first-time president, did you quickly pick up everything that you just showed us? And
Henrietta, I have a question.
No, my club, I just love Daybreak. When I first became a president, I was mentored so well. There was one guy that I began calling him my pal Cal. Every Monday night prior to our meeting the next morning, he would call. This is what you do. This is how you do it. Do you have any questions? So that's why the past president should be very important. I mean, he should be one of your wingmen too, that you could ask questions and you learn. But as you get into your presidency role, it will start coming natural to you.
That's good advice. We have our past president is a great wing woman. It was a great president and is available and engaged.
Yes, engaged.
Zoom Master, I think you started with a question.
Yes, Madam President, the one that can do no wrong. I have a question that, and I mean this sincerely, not to stump you. So as president, and the president, the secretary, and the VPE are the 3 individuals that can approve pathway projects. When a request comes in for a project to be approved, how does one decide who to prioritize that?
Well, that is my wingman that's asking this question. And sometimes he is so efficient, he's gone ahead and approved them. But I would say the VPE, the president, and then who was the third person, Robert?
Secretary.
Secretary, yeah. But I also think, I don't know what, now I'm gonna be honest, I don't know how Toastmasters lines it up, Robert, but I think that should be something that can be decided among the three individuals, the president, the VPE, and the secretary.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It's not clearly defined, and I wasn't trying to put you under the bus. My point in asking the question was that Henrietta and I have a fantastic relationship in the sense that we work as a team and we know who's going to do what. So if the president can communicate with everyone, I think everything goes well.